is why we love this business, and this is why we love the NFL. What's good, everybody? Welcome into Early Edge Live as we count down to the final game of the 2022-2023 season. It's Sunday Night Football, and it matters now to just one team. That is because just moments ago, the Seattle Seahawks in overtime beat the Rams 19-16, and now they will wait to see if the Packers win and Packers go, or if the Lions win tonight, then Seattle would be the final playoff participant of the year. We have so much to talk about. We have so much to get ready. Let's not waste any time. Let's bring in the stars of the show. And I cannot wait to get the reaction from what went down today. First and foremost, the man has been sweating a lot, but for all the right reasons. A little three-way money line parlay for all of us, courtesy of the man who is live from Nashville, Tennessee, the penthouse level. M squared. Quite the day, sir.
Quite the day. We held on there. I had a few plays on just Buffalo and Cincinnati together, but really wanted this one to round them all out. So we had a lot of people cash with us on that. And, of course, shout out to Sia Najad here on the show. We do FFT DFS together. And during the middle of the show on Thursday when we did our show, I adjusted to put Russell Wilson in my player pool after listening to a take that he made. Russell Wilson went for 3 touchdowns today, like we talked about in the chat this morning, and was the number one scoring quarterback in all of the DFS slate. And I just won a pretty decent amount of money thanks to Sia on that one.
You know what that tells me? So many other brands or people or groups or whatever who think they're the smartest guy in the rooms, they don't want to listen to anybody else. That shows how humble our entire crew is. Mikey is probably the smartest guy on the crew, and he just listened to another guy and cashed a ticket. That's what we're all about. We do it together. Now, the man he was just talking about, he is the counselor of cash, Mr. Sia Najad. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, what a great evening it is. I mean, I know Mike hit a huge bet. Thank you for the props on that in terms of Russell Wilson. We talked about that on FFT DFS at length. But speaking of props, I'm 2-0 on the day. Of course, we had some props yesterday. I went 1-2, partially thanks to Jared Stidham, but we hit Walker today. We hit Jalen Warren. We hit the Bills-Bengals tease that I recommended on the Final Bets show this morning, and we hit the Steelers. So those last two weren't official plays, but those were plays that I know some people made as well. Super happy about how today went so far.
I tell everybody, hashtag it pays to watch live. It's not just about the actual picks, it's about the information, as you just alluded to. Now, this man, I don't know how you feel about your squad because it wasn't exactly the prettiest, but you are the number one seed in the NFC. He is live from parts unknown. Prop stars. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Coach Mikey, cousin Sia. Great to see you guys. Interesting day of football. I am glad Mikey won his bets, but I was hoping before I learned that Mikey had these bets on Seattle's money line to see this game come down to both teams potentially getting in. I still think it'll be a great game tonight. I'm excited to break it down.
We will get to it in just a second. There are actually props for tonight's game. Oh, shock of shocks. But before we get to that, because it's about 7:36, I just want to take a couple of minutes, kind of set the stage for what we have coming up in the next month, because now the playoffs are set. And in the NFC, the Eagles will be the top seed, and then the last seed will be the Packers or the Seahawks, and it'll be the Cowboys going to Tampa and the Giants going to Minnesota, a place they just played a couple of weeks ago. Then in the AFC, Chiefs have the bye, Dolphins, Bills, Chargers, Jags, and the Rams and the – what team am I missing? Ravens and Bengals. Excuse me, I can't read my own writing. Mikey, let me start with you. Anything shock you today, or based off these matchups, anything kind of jump out? Because we're going to have a lot of shows to break these down over the course of the next 7 to 8 days.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that shocked me the most would be the Chargers playing the guys as long as they did in a game that could not change anything other than decrease their probability of winning next week, which is absolutely crazy to me. We'll have to see the status on Mike Williams. Of course, he's been banged up throughout the season, and that was probably the most surprising. Buffalo, the next most surprising. Very emotional spot. Defense didn't look great in that game. Patriots, I think, were very, very live to win that game without one of those 2 kickoff returns. So we'll see if they can bounce back going forward, or see if they can regroup a little bit there. But definitely the Chargers. I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Boy, I tell you what, watching Mike Williams walk off, then grab the bag, go to the knees, then go, I was like, wow. Wow, wow, wow. But Staley, he wants to be the smartest guy in the room. He wants to be better than everybody else, and it may bite him because they need him if they want any chance of winning. Now, speaking of winning, the Dallas Cowboys, the only thing worse than scoring 6 points in Week 18 is scoring 6 points with Dak playing the entire game. What did you make of your squad today, laying it on the Cowboys?
Well, first of all, I'll say this. If Carson Wentz hadn't played at all this season, Washington would be going to the playoffs. And so as a Commanders fan, every Heineke game and every Howell game, they looked inspired. They looked spry on both sides of the ball. With Wentz, they just didn't. That's not a coincidence. With that said, it's funny because even the Eagles with Jalen Hurts back and, moderately healthy, they looked flat. The Dallas Cowboys looked flat. And it's ironic, really, because you have two starting quarterbacks that at least are relatively healthy. And then you've got the 49ers, my preseason pick to make it to the Super Bowl out of the NFC, with their third string quarterback looking way better, going into the NFC playoffs with way more momentum than those other two teams. I think it's really interesting. And to me, and I've said this countless times on this very show, I think Kyle Shanahan is the best coach in the NFL. And I think he's proving it right now.
Mm-hmm. I told you last week, one of my best buddies, coach of the NFL, has for years, texted me live on the show and said he's the best, and it's not close.
Right.
And this is a guy who's coached for many years, one of my best friends. I'm not going to tell you his name, but you're dead on. You're dead on. Now, speaking of a little bit uninspired, Alex, let me come to you because we didn't play any Jalen Hurts props today, but it was a little low-key under the radar that he did come back. He did play the entire game today. 22-16, they beat the Giants. They secure the number 1 seed. But as you watch your squad, anything scare you just a little bit?
Yeah, the Eagles just don't look to be in a good rhythm right now. I agree with Sia's take. They certainly came out flat, just weren't very explosive. Couldn't get the running game really going. I don't think Hurts really wanted to lean heavily on his legs just due to the fact that he's still not 100%. I think locking up that bye, though, was really important, getting him an extra week. The Eagles team is also banged up outside of Hurts, too. So just having that extra week should really benefit them, but certainly concerned going into these playoffs.
Well, I think one of my takeaways, and there was a lot watching all these games, is watching the Bengals score either their first or second touchdown. It clearly bothers them that they even had to even talk about a coin flip. They didn't even talk about any of this. They score a touchdown, and they do a little coin flip thingy where they acted like they were doing. And that shows me that you can separate the emotion of the game and the business of the game, because we talked about it all week. It does go on. And, boy, the Bengals are not happy. Yes, Alex.
I think the Bengals are the best team in the AFC right now. I don't even think it's that close. I would say the 49ers look like the best team in the NFC, but the Bengals are firing on all cylinders. Just watching them play, just their offense is so explosive, fully healthy. The trio of receivers, just really, really tough to beat right now. I think the Bengals are rolling offensively and defensively. They're going to be really hard to beat.
And, again, they will play the same team that they played today next week in the same stadium, 2 weeks in a row. It'll be the Ravens and the Bengals there. All right, let's get into tonight's game, gentlemen, because this is exactly how you want it, isn't it? And when the Packers several weeks ago, when they were playing horrible, and Aaron Rodgers was like, hey, we just get on a little bit of a roll, we can have a chance. We need a few things to happen our way. And every single thing they needed to happen happened. Thank you, Washington. Sorry, Sia. But now the Packers, they control their own destiny. They win tonight, they are in. If they don't, Seattle is in. And Lions, the fighting Dan Campbells, they now play the role of spoiler. But in some way, starting 1-6, what did they really expect in Week 18? So our best bets look a little something like this. Dave, who's not here tonight, Aaron Rodgers, over 34.5 pass attempts from our prop show. And then, Sia, I want to start with you. I think your best bet is a really smart way to do it, attacking the Lions right out of the gate and not waiting for them to get their hey, we're not disappointed legs under them.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think the result of the Seattle game would have really, it does impact my bet to my bet's benefit. It is the Green Bay Packers -3 in the first half. This is one of those plays where I just think Detroit, especially with Seattle winning, they're going to be a little deflated. But aside from that, the Packers have a run game and they have the passing game. The passing game hasn't really clicked on all cylinders, but against Detroit, you better believe it probably will be clicking, and it'll probably be clicking from the start. So I really like this spot for the Green Bay Packers. I don't want to take the overall spread of 5.5, which is what it's at a lot of places now. I think this is a really comfortable number in the first half. As much as I wanted to play a prop, I was looking at DJ Shark's over of 34.5 receiving yards, but I ended up falling on this one because I think the Packers are going to be very ready. The last few weeks, we've seen them really come close on a lot of deep balls, and things of that nature. I like the running game here. I like the passing game, and Detroit can get exposed with both of those. So give me the Packers first half -3.
Full transparency, and I don't know if anybody else's book did this today, but I happened to go look. I just got very, very lucky. I went to go look at halftime when the Rams were up on the Seahawks to see if the number would change at my book. It did. They brought it down to 4. So I bought a point down to 3 at about -150. So I had the whole game at -3 because at that time, the Lions would have been in a competitive situation. So, and I've learned that from you guys. Always look for different angles and ways to go about it. And Mikey talks about it all the time, that things will change, but you got to be paying attention to it live. I got very, very lucky with that one. All right. Now, Alex, both teams are playing tonight. And there is a really good player for Detroit that it doesn't matter if they're in the playoffs or not. This dude brings his lunch pail and he gets after it. Who do you like tonight?
Yeah, I like DeAndre Swift over 33.5 rushing yards. I was hoping when I did select this prop that Detroit would have something to play for in this game. But either way, I do think DeAndre Swift is going to continue to be leaned on heavily by the Lions. He's had a over 50% snap share for 4 straight weeks. Coming off last week, he scored 2 touchdowns, makes a massive impact both in the running game and the passing game. Green Bay Packers are one of the worst run defenses in the NFL this season, 31st in EPA allowed per rush, 31st in rushing DVOA, and they're just a huge run funnel as well. We've seen Detroit on this big win streak. They've been one of the more balanced teams in football, and they've been very careful to protect DeAndre Swift for the majority of the year. He looks so healthy and explosive. He can get this on one touch. I expect him to be heavily featured tonight, and he will sail over this number. I also like his alt totals quite a bit as well. I sprinkled over 50, 60, and 70 rushing yards as well.
Oh, look who is stacking their play tonight there with Mr. Swift. Now, my man Mikey's always waiting sometimes. Sometimes a pick is based off another result. I love that. Very, very smart. So, Mikey, you just added a best bet moments ago. What do you have?
Yeah, we're going to isolate Khalif Raymond here for the Detroit Lions. He's got a lot of incentives that he can hit. Look, he's a guy who's been there a little bit. He's played through some of the tough times. I think that they pay him off and reward him in this particular spot. The number is currently 22.5, 23.5. This was 20.5. It's seen 2.5 to 3 yards movement. I don't think that movement is significant based off of the result that we saw. Certainly people are speculating like I am on it, but let's highlight his incentives here because several of them are obtainable. Number one, 7 catches gets him $250,000. That one would be obviously a massive game. We're certainly going over that. But 50 yards gets him another $250K. So if we see a 7-catch, 50-yard game, that's $500,000 for a player that's obviously not a big name, not on a massive contract, does a lot for him. He's also got 36 punt return yards away from $150K. So what I want you to watch here is see if they're letting him even return the punts. If they're letting him return punts early in this game, pretty good indication that they're aware of the incentives and they want to get them for him. But again, the numbers right here at 21, 22, 23, whatever it is, I like it. I think he gets close to the 50 yards minimum. So looking at the game logs, we've been over this in 3 straight games with Amon-Ra on the field, with Jamison Williams. I think it's a good spot to target Khalif Raymond.
Matt in the chat said, I'm all over Khalif Raymond, over 21.5 after I heard what Mike had to say about his bonus on the morning show. Hashtag it pays to watch live. Live. All right, AB. The reason we don't see AB's face is very, very simple. He got into the club for the second time last night, and it was a very, very long night for our 5-tool player. In fact, he's seeing like buttons are all fuzzy right now, but he knows what his picks look like. AB, what do you like tonight?
Yes, sir. You know what? They do look fuzzy. And I'll tell you what, also, we're going to have to give a shout-out to our man, the maestro there, playing possum this morning, leading me right into a showdown that I now have to send him $100. So glad we could do that, get some toys for his kids there. Larry, I hope you enjoyed that 3 a.m. show because that's really all right. So look, we've got 3 plays tonight. All right, we're going to play the Packers team total over 27.5 at -105. We've been pretty strong here, 2-1 today on team totals here. I think the Packers, obviously, they have everything to play for, but we're also going to hedge that with Mason Crosby over 1.5 field goals. So if we see Green Bay slowing down, getting stopped near the red zone, kicking field goals, right? Like we're going to kind of hedge ourselves there. We could hit both of them, right? Like that could absolutely happen. We only need 2. They generally lean on Mason Crosby game script regardless, but we're going to give ourselves a little bit of insurance there. And then lastly, the no-fly zone is open tonight. Jared Goff is phenomenal when he's in a dome. Too bad he's not in a dome tonight. He is in Lambeau, and it is freezing. And I think that he's going to be in a tough spot tonight. So we're going to play that at -105 as well.
Oh, man, I love all of those. Everybody in the chat's talking about how good Jared Goff has been, Mikey, and he has been very good. We've cashed, I think, 3 or 4 different times in the last 6 weeks, his over 1.5 touchdown passes. Would you think tonight that he'll get 2 touchdown passes against this really good, or it has been good at times this year, Packers secondary?
I think he's definitely going to have the opportunity to do it. The thing that I worry about there is you could still run the football on Green Bay a little bit. They've got very talented running backs, ones that have had the knack for the end zone all season as well. So I worry about the potential for him getting sniped at the goal line a little bit. So it's not something I'm going to play. But at the same time, even though they don't have anything to play for, I am not going to play the under on it.
Okay. And on the other side of the fence, they're asking about the guy that we have been all over, Alex, and I'm coming right to you, big boy, because we're talking about Christian Watson, his number 51.5. If you can address that, then whatever you needed to say.
Has anyone realized how much Jared Goff is a spitting image of Mikey? Am I the first person to realize that? Looking at that headshot, I thought I was looking at Mikey there for a second. So, yeah, just want to shout out that real quick. Jared Goff and Mikey could be potentially cousins. So, yeah, as far as Christian Watson is concerned, a guy that I like quite a bit, obviously not short on talent. He's asserted himself as Rodgers' go-to option. However, this is a low-volume passing attack. This is a team that really leans heavily on both running backs. This is a team that plays as slow. They burn more clock than any team in football. It is a great matchup against the Lions. I just, between Watson not looking 100% healthy to me, coupled with the fact that Green Bay could really be playing conservative, really leaning on both running backs, while I would lean over on, I just don't have enough trust in Christian Watson right now to comfortably play us over.
Yeah, you mentioned slow. By the way, Christian Watson 2 weeks ago, 49 yards in the first half and then didn't play in the second half. And we had him at 52. That was a bad beat. But see my man John in the chat is asking about the total. And I would love to tell him, hey, it's going to be a shootout. The Lions can score, so can the Packers. But when you bet in total with the Packers involved, it can become excruciating if for some reason the Packers are up by 3 or 4 with the final 7 minutes of the game to be played. How would you attack the total tonight, if at all?
Yeah, the total seems high to me. I think it might be one of your patented M² live plays. I think maybe that's something I would wait for, particularly if they're scoring early, maybe by one side, maybe the Packers go up early, go up fast, and you even get a more inflated total than this 49. But because of how the game script might go from there with a 10-0 or 14-0 lead, you could see them really milking the clock. So I think I would probably wait. If you're interested in the total, I think I'd probably wait for a live bet. As far as one thing about Christian Watson, I agree with Alex. I think if you were going to look at Christian Watson, because of the low volume, I might look at his longest reception. And what I did before this show started, I believe it was in like the 22.5 range. I think that's something to speculate on. It's not a play I'm going to make, but I'd actually prefer that over the total yardage.
And who did you say that for? I'm sorry.
Christian Watson.
It's 22.5 currently.
Yeah. I kind of lean the over there. It's not something I'm really super psyched about, but because we brought Christian Watson up, I think I kind of like that play versus the total yardage.
You know what? I don't like the fact that you're scared. I'm not scared. So I'm going to make it an official play. And if it hits, then I'm going to give $100 to one very lucky winner in the chat if they write Watson and hit the like button, because we need 500 likes to even get through the rest of the show. So I'm putting it in live. Oh, you can't see my balance. I'm putting it in, and I'm playing Christian Watson over 22.5. If you want to participate, right, Watson. Oh, a lot of you are already doing it. Watson, because I believe in the man. Just because you don't see it, that's okay. I'm putting it in. Somebody's going to win $100, and we have 2 winners that we will announce tomorrow. We're still trying to find their Twitter handles from the over in the Cavs game that I said would still hit without Donovan Mitchell. And NBA, don't question my NBA now, Sia. You know what I'm talking about? Christian Watson, maybe. All right, now, speaking of running, Mikey, let me come back to you because Alex already said the Packers lean on their running backs. It's a 2-headed monster. Sometimes it's A.J. Dillon. Sometimes it's Aaron Jones. But lately, Dillon has been the guy. Who do you like tonight to maybe have the biggest game between those two?
I'll say A.J. Dillon, considering what's on the line. I would have said Aaron Jones had the Lions had this opportunity to win. I think the game would have been more competitive. That's where Aaron Jones' unique skill set in the passing game would have come into play. Just a touch more, in my opinion. So I think that A.J. Dillon probably got a little bit more of the upside on his own individual number, probably a little more upside in the anytime touchdown market as well. What will be interesting is if this game is clearly in hand. Last week we saw Patrick Taylor mix in a little bit. We might see some of that more. I know some of that's precautionary, but Aaron Jones is, whether officially or unofficially, he's been banged up and on the injury report most of the season. So I'll lean towards A.J. Dillon if you want to speculate on.
All right. So A.J. Dillon for Mikey. Alex, what would you say from the ground aspect? Because you nailed earlier today, I believe it was the Dolphins game, that you said with all of those weapons, it's going to be the defense. And what was the final score in that game?
11-6.
11-6. By the way, if you were on the Jets plus 3.5, I'm sorry. Brutal.
Ouch.
Brutal. Brutal. Hello, Mississippi State. Now, Alex, back to you. Who do you like? Because you seem to be able to predict spike games pretty good, and tonight is a very delicate situation.
Pretty good, Coach. Really good. But I would go with A.J. Dillon as well, like Mike alluded to. He's certainly been the hot hand recently. I think he has 6 touchdowns over the last 5 games. Looks really good. Got off to a really sluggish start early in the season, but has really come to life over the last 6 games. Big reason why the Green Bay has been as good as they have been recently has been A.J. Dillon. So I think it'll be a hot hand approach. I think whatever running back, honestly, is looking better, is breaking tackles, and is picking up chunks, or who they're going to go with. Considering that you get like a 10 to 15 yard discount on A.J. Dillon, I'm more inclined to lean that way.
Okay. Let me come to you, Sia, because Aaron Rodgers, we're already on his attempts, but we haven't even talked about his yardage. We haven't even talked about his touchdown prop, which is juiced to minus 165 currently. But his passing yards is not too high. But again, that slow pace, 253.5. How big of a night do you think Aaron Rodgers will need to have to secure the win tonight?
Yeah, my lean would be to the under there because I do think the 1-2, like the thing about Detroit is they had a bout where they were doing really well against the run, and then they got destroyed against the run a couple weeks ago. I think the game plan is probably going to be to give the Detroit Lions a very healthy dose of A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. And so it's not that I don't think the game's going to be competitive necessarily. I just think that that's the way the Packers would choose to win this game if they can. And I think they can. So I would actually lean to the under there. I think, he's probably going to end up close to that range, but it wouldn't shock me at all if he ends up with 230 passing yards.
It feels like that classic 235, 3 touchdowns, 21 to 25. It really does. Alex, go.
Yeah, I am in a showdown with Uncle Dave, if you recall from the Friday prop show where Dave gave out over 34.5 passing attempts. I also lean under on all of Aaron's props tonight, largely because they're the biggest numbers he's had all season. We know this team just burns more clock than any team. They're just a really conservative ball control offense. We haven't seen the Packers one time this year come out and be aggressive and really just attack with a lot of passing volume. It literally just has not happened. It's just not how the Packers play football. And as a result, because of the opponent, we're seeing the biggest numbers that Aaron's had all season long, whether it be his yards, attempts, and completions. And to me, it's just not justified. That's just not how the Packers choose to play football. And that's just not the strength of their football team. So I don't understand why these numbers are as high as they are. I do get that it's a meaningful game and Detroit is not a good secondary, but at the same time, these are way over Aaron's season averages.
And by the way, you mentioned showdown. Just a quick question for any of the three of you. How many times have you ever talked trash in a showdown bet on Twitter? What's the most you've ever done? Like, what's the most tweets you've ever sent? One,
Maybe one for me.
Maybe one.
Mikey is probably 0 or 1. Yeah, we've got a new little member of the crew that I have to teach a little lesson to, and I'll handle it quietly, publicly, quietly. But
hey,
don't worry about it.
You know what, Coach? Let me say this.
Yes.
The Twitter part, you're exactly right. You're going to have to teach him a lesson. I've got Maestro on shows the next day calling me out with threatening text, so that's how he rolls.
He does take it pretty serious. I will say that. Where's my money? Where's my money?
Yeah,
all right,
it's like having a bookie. That's what it's like.
Can you imagine telling a 19-year-old right now? It's like having a bookie. What's that? What is that? Oh, it's the guy you meet every Tuesday at the bodega. I lived in the Northeast way, way too long. Get out of there. All right, so we are approaching the top of the hour because of the lack of props, because of the lack of everything. You know, here at the Early Edge, we don't force anything. So tonight, there will be no goose. There will be no donkey, but we will still do the gym. We will still predict, and we've been pretty good at this, the first touchdown of the game, and redo our best bets for those coming in at the top of the hour. And then we're going to enjoy the final game of 2023. By the way, we will have a very special show tomorrow night. No Monday Night Football, but guess what there is? The national championship. TCU and Georgia will be here. Same time, 7:30 p.m. Breaking it all down. Is 12.5 points too much? We'll find out tomorrow. Georgia and TCU. So, it is that time. And last night, AB became the second two-time champion this year. Could they possibly do what Sia did a year ago? Alex has that look in his eye, but you're going to have to wait a second because I already did this once and I'm not about to do it again. Mikey invented this segment. It's his segment, so he always gets to go first. Mikey, who do you like tonight?
I like Alan Lazard. I think he's still going to be heavily involved. Aaron Rodgers, while he likes the new weapons, he still trusts and wants to be able to trust Alan Lazard. The number's plus 1,400, or it was earlier when I played it on FanDuel. It was plus 900 on DraftKings. Shop around on it. It definitely fits within the criteria here. I think the Packers start early. Let's go Alan Lazard.
Okay, that one it's believable at plus 1,400. The next one is Proppy, and I'm gonna send it to him like this. Alex, who do you like tonight?
I like DeAndre Swift, Coach. Plus 1,000. You best believe I have a receipt too, Coach, because I always keep receipts. But yeah, let's go DeAndre Swift. He's the best player on the Lions football team, whether we're talking offense or defense. This guy's absolutely dynamic. I know if you're just looking at his box score numbers this year, might not be wow, but he dealt with a variety of injuries and really had the training wheels off up until the last couple of weeks. But DeAndre Swift is electric, dynamic. He's a threat to take it to the house. Every time he touches the football, I think he's one of the best running backs in the NFL. Getting him at plus 1,000 was an absolute gift. So love this spot for Swift tonight.
I'll say it's a gift. I will say it's a gift. Now, AB, he's now on Alex's heels. They both have 2 tickets to get into the club. AB, last night, it wasn't like it was a popular pick. It was what, plus 2,200?
Yep.
What we had last night?
Yep. We took down 22 units with that bad boy last night with our man Chig. And you know what? We're going for 14 tonight. Robert Tonyan at 1,400 because Aaron Rodgers knows this is about securing the bag, securing the playoffs. And you do that with the big fella right there in the end zone. Robert Tonyan is going to be your man tonight.
All right. See ya, by the way, the cool kids, when they say secure the bag, they mean win the money. Just thought I'd let you know that.
Roger
Mr.
that.
Pop culture hip guy. All right. Now, Jake the Snake is on Randall Cobb plus 2,200. And then see ya. It comes down to you. Because you've been talking trash for well over 12 months as being the only man who won 3 times so far. That is about to be over potentially. But you have a chance tonight for number 2 for this season. Who do you like?
Yeah, it's about to be over because I'm going to hit tonight and then I'm going to hit in the wild card round. So thank you for prefacing my victories coming up. But I'm going to go with the Sun God, otherwise known as Amon-Ra St. Brown at plus 1,100. We're getting extreme value here because Amon-Ra plays on the away team. This is a guy that Jared Goff will be looking at if they happen to get towards the end zone first. He runs those short A-dot patterns for the most part. He's not necessarily a deep threat, which is perfect once you get in the red zone. He's an extremely reliable target. and he gets a lot of targets. So give me Amon-Ra. This is a great number.
Alex.
Coach, can we hit on the fact that the snake has yet to make it into the club? It's been 18 weeks. This is his final opportunity to get in during the regular season. He should have to do something because he's the only member of the crew yet to cash his ticket.
Yeah, that's very true. Let me think about that. Let me think about what we can do. But he's a competitor. There's no doubt about it. He's a competitor. So whatever we potentially could come up with. Now, again, he still has the playoffs. He still has the playoffs and the Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens there. But I like where your head is at, Alex. I like where your head is at. So those are the predictions for the first touchdown score of the game. Now, we've got to re-go over. Did I go to school? We need to recap our best bets that we did at the top of the show. Where were you? But that's okay. We got you covered. So, Sia, let's start with you. What is your best bet for tonight? Lions, Packers, Sunday Night Football.
Give me the Packers -3 first half. Again, I just like how this sets up. I do think the Packers at this point are probably the better team, particularly because they're playing at home. And I just think it was super deflating what just happened to the Detroit Lions. There were a couple points in that Rams game against Seattle where it actually looked like the Rams were going to win. And I just can't imagine the Lions watching that and just, rolling into this game not at least a little bit discouraged.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, tonight, you said that DeAndre Swift, Alex, could cover this number in one rush. Let's hope that's not start of the first quarter with that said rush into the end zone, but maybe a little bit later on third or fourth quarter. What do you like tonight?
Coach, yeah, we like DeAndre Swift over 33.5 rushing yards. One of the most dynamic running backs in the NFL, playing against a Green Bay defense, 31st in EPA allowed per rush, 31st in run defense, one of the biggest run funnels in the NFL. DeAndre Swift has had a 50% or greater snap share in 4 straight weeks. If he makes it 5 straight weeks, he's going to absolutely sail over this number. That's why I also like his alt lines as well.
Do you want to know how good my guys are? I looked at my book when Mikey gave out his. It's gone up 3 yards at my book. They're watching the show. Mikey, what do you like?
I am on Khalif Raymond here. Now that the Lions have been eliminated, he's got some pretty big incentives to hit tonight. 50 yards away from $250,000, 7 catches away from another $250,000. So a monster game here would net him $500,000. He also has 36 punt return yards to grab for an extra $150,000. This is a player. He is a free agent after this. He spent a lot of time with this team battling it out in some of the ugly situations. I personally think they pay him off tonight and try and get him these bonuses.
I always think it's such a, not shady, but when the stories where the owner's like, no, I'm not paying him, and they sit him. It's just such bad business when they do that. It's just bad business. Hey, if they earn it, they earn it. You're a billionaire. Pay him. All right. So that is Prop Stars, Sia, Mikey on the left. Uncle Dave from the Prop Show is on Aaron Rodgers over 34.5. But to be fair, Alex does not like this play, and they have a showdown tonight. Alex is under 34.5 pass attempts, so take it for what it's worth. If you like Alex and his thought process, good. If you like Dave's, good. If you didn't watch the show, I can't help you. All right, now, AB, talk to me on your 3 plays.
Yes, sir. All right, real quick, and I tell you what. This is what we're going to do. I want any of you guys to pick one other person for Snake. We're going to add him one, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to punish the 150 people that just left the show watching live. Coach, all the people that wrote Watson in there, I will choose myself someone also in that group for $100 if that pick hits tonight, the second person for Snake. So any of you guys, plus 1,000 or more, who do you like? And we're going to punish people for not staying to the end of the show.
Interesting. I have to look real quick. These guys are probably better. Let's throw out some names for Snake. Who do we like? Who else do we like tonight? Let's see. DJ Shark is plus 1,500.
I like that.
We like that. Let's give the DJ Shark. What about?
You get Aaron Rodgers at plus 2,500.
Let's give him Aaron Rodgers at plus 2,500. And how about Romeo Doubs at plus 1,600? We like that one?
Are we picking one of these 3 or?
Well, we're going to give all of them to him.
We're giving all 3 to him.
to give away $100 to somebody in the chat.
I thought AB said we're giving one more pick to him.
We'll give him 3. We'll give him all of those guys.
Are we just giving him the field so he gets anyone that's not chosen? So if one of us is wrong, he gets the field.
We'll give him all those guys. We'll give him all those guys, and if any of them hit, I'll select one winner. On top of Coach, what you're doing and putting that money out there as well. So yeah, all 3 of those are now in play.
All right.
And also Packers team total 27.5. Jared Goff, 1 interception. Mason Crosby over 1.5.
I've been in this world long enough to know you go bet Randall Cobb now. That was his original choice, and we have just offended the man like crazy by offering the field. Randall Cobb scoring the first touchdown. That's what he wanted.
Yeah,
guaranteed. Oh, and I know how competitive Snake is. He's driving himself crazy right now. He hates not being in the club. Absolutely hates it. All right. The last game of Week 18 before the playoffs start. What an incredible season it has been, and we're just getting started. And we like to every one of our live shows, primetime shows, asking my guys, what's the number one most important thing they're looking forward to tonight? And this game matters, so listen up. Mikey, how about you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see if they pay off Khalif Raymond here. He has definitely earned it. These are obtainable, and I want to see what Dan Campbell does. We don't expect him to just roll over. I'm expecting some trick plays. I'm expecting some sort of maybe an onside kick to start the game. I don't know what we're going to see from him, but I think they're going to have some fun on that Detroit sideline.
See it. Talk to me.
I just think it's really interesting. If Aaron Rodgers actually wins, we get Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady in the playoffs, where if you looked 6-7 weeks ago, we weren't so sure about that. So I'm just curious to see what their impact is over these teams that appear to be better than them. Is it going to be the quarterback that emerges, or is it going to be the teams themselves that emerge?
And the team they would play would be the 49ers, and Aaron Rodgers is from the Bay Area. So little irony there.
Tough matchup.
It's a very, very tough matchup. Alex, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the DeAndre Swift show. I firmly believe this guy is one of the best running backs in the NFL. I think he's the best player on the entire Lions roster. And if he continues to get a big role on this team and he sees over 50% of the snaps in the Lions backfield, he could have a monstrous game. Love DeAndre Swift. Hope he ends his season on a high note tonight.
Daniel says in the chat, I'm going to miss football when the season's over. It's been good. Hey, listen, some shows may do the USFL or the XFL. By the way, do you guys know the only human being that was a part of the original XFL and the second version of the XFL?
He was a great announcer, too.
He was a great announcer. I'll admit that, too. Does anybody know the one person who was part of the original in 2001 and then the latest one 3 years ago? One person.
Not.
You don't know? Mikey, do you know? Sia, do you know?
I mean, I have a guess, but it's probably awful. Brent Musburger is, oh, no way.
Wow.
No way.
Wow.
That's amazing.
This guy. I did the very first in Orlando race for the ball where the guy dislocated his shoulder, which was the dumbest thing they've ever done in football, is a race for the ball to see who gets the ball first. The dumbest thing I've ever seen. Oh, literally his career was over. Didn't even play it down. And I'm standing there going, what the hell is going on? That was 2001. I still had hair then, as a matter of fact.
Shout out Rod Smart.
Yes.
Oh, he hate me all over the place. All right, boys, great show tonight. Enjoy the game tonight. But, boy, tell you what, we've got a great playoffs coming up. We're here every single day, multiple times a day. And as I mentioned, we'll have a special live show tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time for the National Championship, TCU and Georgia. But there's only one thing left to do, and I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these Sunday night tickets straight to the pay window. For my entire crew, love them all. The Counselor of Cash, M Squared, Proppy 2 Claws, Proppy 2 times, whatever you call them, just don't call them late for dinner. And, of course, AB on the ones and the twos. I am the coach. We love this so very much. We also love cash and tickets. So let's go get to it. This is The Early Edge. Good luck.